Welcome back to the Transfer Timer, a show brought to you by oddschecker in association with whoscored.com. I'm your host, Dan Worth, delighted to be joined by former Manchester City and Chelsea defender Wayne Bridge. Wayne, how are things?
Yeah, not bad, mate. School holidays are absolutely manic, but there isn't long left and I'll be back at school and I can get back to some normality. I do love it, but it's hard work.
Yeah, I bet. Well, get the kids back to school, then the Premier League starts again,
Yeah,
and it's all good. It's all good. How are you
yeah.
feeling about the upcoming season? Looking forward to it?
Yeah, I am. I am looking forward to it. It's one of them people always ask, you, what do you think this? What do you think that? It's just really hard, isn't it? Because I end up going with my heart rather than my head, and it's really hard to predict what's going to go on.
Yeah, it really is. And like this season especially, I mean, I know it happens every year really, but it feels like there's so much change. Like so many managers have changed. Like obviously there's loads of transfers and stuff which we'll get into, but yeah, I mean, Chelsea and City, the two teams that we're going to spend most of this episode talking about, both have new managers in.
Yeah, it's mad how many managers. I think is it 9 new managers? I think
Is it? Yeah,
already. Yeah.
crazy. Crazy.
I wonder which one goes first.
Yeah, exactly. I think in the betting market, Arbeloa at Fulham is the most backed to be the first manager out the door, which is crazy considering he's obviously not managed a game yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Right, we'll start off with Chelsea then. Again, as we mentioned, a new manager. You won the Premier League in 04-05 in Jose Mourinho's first season as manager. I don't want you to curse Alonso, but do you expect him to be able to do something similar to that?
Um, Would be a big statement if you come out and said that, wouldn't it? To emulate Jose Mourinho. It's obviously possible, um, but I'd be surprised if he came along and had the same impact that he's had. He obviously done well in Germany, not so well in Spain. I think the way Chelsea have been over the last few years has just been a bit all over the place. There's been an inconsistency. So I'd be surprised if he come along and had that kind of impact. But I like to think he's going to have a positive impact.
Yeah, nice. What do you expect from Alonso? Like, what do you think he's going to come in and do differently to perhaps some of the previous managers that Chelsea have had?
Well, I think he's gonna. The challenge is getting the consistency out of the team, getting the best out of the players. Got some great players, Cole Palmer, Rodgers, Pedro. I absolutely love, and I think it's finding the best team and getting them to play the way he wants to and the way it's going to work. Um, I definitely. It's a very tough ask because of how it's been going over the years with Chelsea. But I like to think he's going to get them back to consistency. If he can get Cole Palmer, the likes of Cole Palmer, Rodgers, Pedro, firing on all cylinders, they're three great players. And I think it's important to get off to a good start. And one thing they have got to do is see out games. There's a lot of games where they've been ahead and lost. So for me, they've got to get if they're getting in the lead, they've then got to be able to see that game out and control the game, which I think Alonso should be able to get that team to control the game a little bit more.
Yeah, very nice. You mentioned Cole Palmer then, obviously left out of the England squad for the World Cup, which was quite controversial. Do you think that that might potentially benefit him and we might see him, well, probably we'll see him fresher, but do you think then that will help him bounce back to his best this season?
Do you know, you like to think he had a dip in form because of injury,
Hmm.
but also the Chelsea squad, they weren't all firing on all cylinders, like the consistency wasn't there. You hope having the summer off has helped him recover fully from any injuries that he's had. I don't think he's a player that lacks in confidence from what I've seen. So I like to think you're going to get back to the old Cole Palmer. That he didn't reach those levels last year. So hopefully that window off, he'll come back all guns blazing, and we'll see the best of him. I think that's a great possibility because you could have said the season before, world class is a big statement, but if he carries on doing what he was doing and he does it overseas, he needs to be a world class player. So I think he could end up being great for Chelsea this year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even last season, people suggest it was a terrible season. He still managed to score 10 goals, so it's not
It's
that.
basically because he wasn't setting the world alight every game. So he's an amazing player, and when you look at him, Rodgers and Pedro, I think if you had all three of them on the pitch, that's going to be an exciting team.
Yeah, it's a serious attack. So let's move on to Man City then. Another new manager in there in Enzo Maresca, who we know from his days at Chelsea. Huge boots to fill following Pep Guardiola, who's been one of the best managers the Premier League's ever seen. Um, do you anticipate that he can follow in those footsteps, or do you anticipate City dropping off a little bit?
I've met him quite a few times. I actually really like him. I like the way he talks. I like him as a person, and I think that's important when you're a manager because you want the players to like you as well. Massive shoes to fill. So it wouldn't surprise you if there was a little drop off at all. And you look at some of the players like Rodri maybe going, then you've got Bernardo Silva. Like they are massive players. Bernardo's huge for them. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's a little drop off. They've signed some new players. They've got some unbelievable players. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
But it wouldn't surprise me if there was a little bit of a drop off.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Um, right, let's talk a little bit about left backs. Looking across the Premier League currently, who do you rate as the best left back in the league at the moment?
Oh, do you know what? I feel like it's really hard because I think the position's changed a lot.
Mm.
I think the way football's played, like you got Cucurella who was at Chelsea, who God knows how many times he made it into the box during a game. And and this has probably been my favourite for a little while now, is O'Reilly. I just love him as a player. I think he could probably play anywhere. You could maybe question his defensive ability, but I love him as a player. Comfortable on the ball, not afraid, always pops up with a goal. You've got Lewis Hall, but for me, O'Reilly, he just hit the ground running and just hasn't stopped, in my opinion. And I think at one point he was probably one of the first names on the team sheet for Pep at some point.
Yeah, I completely agree. Interesting there that you've mentioned the two players that I've got follow-on questions for. So let's do that. Nico O'Reilly, obviously, as you said, his rise at City has been, well, nothing short of impressive, really. As a left back yourself, do you have any advice for him to kind of go on? Because obviously he's still very young.
The only advice I've used is football's changed too much. So if footballing wise, I think he's probably ahead of me anyway. So stick to what you're doing. But I think really it's just staying grounded. I think it's staying humble. And it's work. Everyone talks about work rate. I think you've always got to be able to outwork your opponent. But obviously things have changed now. You've got science, medicine involved. You've got people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do too much. You shouldn't do this." But I think the main reason, and another one, would be to be a leader. I think everyone on the pitch should be a leader. I probably could have been more of a leader. So I say be a leader, be vocal, lead by example, stay humble and carry on what you're doing, working hard.
Very nice. And then Cucurella then obviously departed Chelsea to Real Madrid this window. Do you think Chelsea's current left back options are good enough at the moment, or do you think that's a point where the opposition will try and sort of put their focus as a bit of a weak point for Chelsea?
I don't know. I don't know if they focus it as a weak point. Maybe could do. I think Cucurella will be missed. Um, just because I thought he had a bit of a tough start at Chelsea, but then he was probably one of the best players. Um, and also it depends how Alonso's going to set up. Does he play four at the back? Does he play three at the back? I don't think we really know how he's going to set up because I know he's played a lot of 3-4-3 before. So it all depends. But Cucurella for me, who's obviously been one of Chelsea's best players, so he's definitely going to be missed.
Yeah, for sure. Right, now it's time for the transfer timer, which is our transfer game. I'll present three players and I'll put 60 seconds on the clock. I'll give you a price as well. So at the end of the 60 seconds or however long it takes, you say whether you would pay or pass for this player. So let me just grab the timer and then we'll start off with Enzo Fernandez moving from Chelsea to Manchester City, currently rumoured at £120 million. So I'll start the timer in 3, 2, 1.
So just talk about Enzo, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, he's a great player. You know, he gets box to box. He's got goals. He's a leader. You know, he's a big player for Argentina. He's in a difficult position at Chelsea at the moment. He's already been booed. As a character, he's strong. He's fiery. He's got good passing range. He is a great player. Would I pay or pass? Well, they've already signed Anderson. I would probably pass. I think with the likes, maybe, you know, you've got Bernardo Silva and that live, but I'd probably pass him. I'd look for someone else. You know, even may. I know he's young, but I love the player Buardi. But yeah, I pass.
Very good. Well, we'll talk about Buadi after this game. Don't worry about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's a pass at 120 million for Fernandez then. Sticking with City, but another Chelsea player potentially on his way there. Valued at £100 million is Pedro Neto. I'll give you 60 seconds to talk about whether you think he's a good signing for Man City. Go for it.
It's a tough one, this, because look, he's a rapid winger. I say he's got good work rate. At Wolves, he was a great player, but I don't know if it was because he was a standout player of the team. I wouldn't say he's hit those levels for Chelsea. I think he's really nice to watch on the eye. He drive at people, but I think you need more end product from him. I think you need more crosses, you need more goals. There's a player I likened him to at Chelsea before, which is Ziyech, where they're really nice on the eye to watch, but I don't think you get enough end product out of them. So for me, as City, I will be passing.
Fair enough. Perfect on the timer there. The last one then is to sign for Chelsea. I think he's actually rumoured to sign for both of these teams. Obviously, he can only sign for one. Is Alex Scott from Bournemouth. He's currently rumoured to be £60 million. I'll give you 3, 2, 1, go.
I really like Alex Scott. He's consistent for Bournemouth. He works hard. He pops up with some goals. Technically, very gifted player. I think he'll handle the ball in most areas. He does well under pressure. The only thing with him going to Chelsea is I would have signed him instead of Henderson, for sure. But obviously, because they've already got Henderson, I'm not sure. I think this Alex Scott has got the potential to go and be really good, but I don't know if he's what Chelsea want to be. But Chelsea aren't what they used to be, I guess. So this one I'm a bit 50-50 on. I think if you drop Henderson out, I'll take Alex Scott. But because of the signing they've already signed, you've got Pedro, you got Palmer, and you got Rodgers, I'd probably say pass as well.
Fair enough. Again,
I
59.
was talking myself in and out of a question then. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, do I, don't I? I got there in the end.
yeah. Well, that's what these questions are designed for.
Yeah, yeah,
Designed
yeah.
to be difficult. Right, a few more transfers then. The timer's gone now, so you can be as quick or as long as you like.
Sweet.
You've already mentioned Rodgers quite a few times. Massive signing for Chelsea. The most expensive British player ever, but I feel like that gets broken every window now. So I don't know whether you want to talk about that. But great player. Do you think he's worth the fee and do you think he can bring a lot to this Chelsea team?
I think it's really hard to answer the question, is he worth the fee? Because inflation in football prices just seems to go through the roof. So, for instance, like we've already talked about Alex Scott, what was it, 60 million?
Mm,
I'm like, do you not, you're not, for some reason, I feel like if you're not breaking the 100 mark, you're kind of not getting someone who's actually established a little bit. And
yeah.
I don't know, the fees to me just seem crazy, but that's the way football is. But I love Rodgers. He's strong, powerful, fast, gets at players, carries the ball really well. He scores goals. He scored some great goals. So for me, I think he's a great sign. I really like him a lot, and I think he'd be a player that will link up well with the rest of the team. I really like him. Really, really like him.
Yeah, good stuff. Maxence Lacroix. Oh, that's a bit of a mouthful. Signed from Crystal
Yeah,
Palace.
yeah, yeah.
He was their highest rated player, Crystal Palace, in the Premier League last season. Like, does that excite you? Do you think he's potentially better than what Chelsea had?
I think so, and when you look about the money, you probably think it isn't that bad of a price. You know, he's made it into the French squad as well. He was outstanding last year, winning tackles, winning headers. What is he, 6'4"? No, you wouldn't say he's a slouch. He's strong. Um, it's probably a step up going to Chelsea.
Mhm.
But to me, it feels like a good signing. I think with what he's done at Palace and then he's coming into Chelsea, you're going to say he's have a better squad route. I think he could be a really good signing.
Nice. And then we already mentioned about Rodri leaving and joining Barcelona. City have already brought in Elliot Anderson for another decent fee. Do you think Anderson has shown that he has what it takes to fill Rodri's boots? Because again, they're very big boots to fill.
No, I can't say yes to that. Do you know what I mean? Like player of the tournament, Ballon d'Or. You know how comfortable he is and things he does on the ball. Um, you know, losing him's going to have a massive impact, Rodri, and I love Anderson. I think he's a really good player, but he's going to have a lot to prove to get anywhere near Rodri, basically. Like so, yeah, that's a real tough one. I'd be mad to go and say, yeah, he's going to be fine. He's going to fill his boots. You'd be a bit mental. I'd get called mental, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's quite hard on him to compare
Yeah,
away to Rodri.
yeah. Give him time. Give him time. He's a great player. I love him.
Yeah. Another young prospect then for City, who again we already mentioned, who looks decent, is Ayoub Boadi. I don't think he's signed just yet, but still rumours going on. Do you reckon he can come in and have a big impact, or do you think he's a little bit too young to kind of be the anchor for a title contender?
I just think it depends how it goes. You know what I mean? I had only heard of him before the World Cup when I was chatting to the secret scout, and he brought him up to me, and he said to me he would be the one to watch out of all the young kind of players coming up. He was really excited about him, but he is young. But that doesn't say he can't do it. Young players always come in and can slot in nicely. It's just down each. It's that midfield area that just seems to have gone like that for City. So
Mm.
I think he's got enough ability to come in and slot in, but he is young, so it's not. There'll be a lot of pressure on him, and it's always hard when you sign for a big club like that and you're young. Don't get me wrong. Some young people can go in and just take it like that, but you know, it's never easy. Sometimes it can take a season to feel comfortable, but yeah, he could be great for him, really.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those two signings that we just talked about there really show how it is all changing that Man City midfield. Where do you expect Man City to finish this season? Because I've seen a lot of predictions that they'll be right back up the top, and some suggesting they might even fall out of the top four. Where do you think they'll be?
Matt, I've already predicted my top three yesterday,
Nice.
and maybe some of it goes with my heart. Maybe some of it is with my heart, which is really hard sometimes. But I'm excited. I love Maresca. I think Chelsea are way off like the City and Arsenal at the moment. Um, but you never know. What I think, flip a coin, it's going to go either way for Chelsea. But I'd like to think it's going to go on the up. But I'm not sure they've got what it is to catch them too. Um, what was the question again? How's City going to do? Oh no, what was the question again? Sorry, when I was
Yeah.
waffling then.
Where do you expect City to?
Whereas I expect City to be at the top, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit of that's going with my heart. I
Hmm.
really like Enzo, and it is all about filling someone else's shoes. But I think it's a great squad. I really like the manager, and I'm also living in a bit of hope. But I fancy them to nick it, and Arsenal come second, and I actually fancy United to probably finish third. Um, I think they've done really well last year, and I really like Michael Carrick as a manager. Thought he's done brilliant. So that was my prediction yesterday. So I've got to stick with it, really.
Nice. Well, so you've got Chelsea in fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Very good. Well, let's talk a little bit more about your time at Chelsea. You obviously played with Frank Lampard in your time there, who's now manager of Coventry. Did a fantastic job last season at getting them up. I wanted to ask you if, when you were playing with him, if there were any signs then that he would go on to be a good manager.
I probably didn't think about it then, but if you look at Lamps, he probably trained. He was one of the hardest trainers. He was one of the ones that would always stay and do extra. He's lead by example. There's probably one thing that stood out for me about Lamps. I remember he didn't really have to shout at me much, to be honest. I remember him shouting at me once in this game, and it was like I'd had a few bad touches and everything, and like I was all right. But he probably looked at me and thought my head's gone. He just went, "Oh, Bridgie, come on, let's get going. Don't worry about it. Let's go." I mean, he's really good at like encouragement and giving you a G up if you needed it. And I think if he can install his mentality, that kind of mentality into the team he's got, he'll do well. But yeah, he is probably one of the ones that you say he's going to go on to be a manager. He lived and breathed football. He loves it.
Yeah, good stuff. Do you think he can keep Coventry up this season?
I think he's got a chance. Out of the three coming up, I'd probably say they're the ones that would stay up. And if their home form last year was really good, so that they've definitely got to take that into this season. And like I said, if he can install in his players his kind of mentality and his work rate, that can take you far enough. And if he can get the players playing football, I think they'll be the ones to stay up out of the three that come up.
Yeah, good stuff. Obviously, successful Chelsea teams, including the ones that you played for, have always had world class quality in them. World class quality in them. Frank Lampard, a great example. But who in this current team do you consider to be world class?
I think that's very hard to say any of them. It's not easy, I'd say. I'd say probably like Cole Palmer, for instance. I love him, but maybe he needs a little bit longer to prove that he's at that levels that all them other players were that I played with.
Mhm.
There's probably, Reece James, but he hasn't played. He's had a lot of injuries, but probably Reece James. He's world class, great right back. And Pedro's got a lot of potential, but I wouldn't say he's the level of those players that I played with. So you put him at the top, probably not yet, but he could be. Um, so really, Reece James and maybe Casado as a midfielder is world class. But I think, yeah, I'm not too sure there's many others in there.
Yeah, fair enough. You mentioned João Pedro. It's a simple question and it's a very tough one. But do you think he can push Haaland this season for the Golden Boot in the Premier League?
I'd have to watch Chelsea a few more games to answer that. I think so, mate. I'd love him to, but he's just unsure. But I love as a player. I think he's brilliant. I think he's fantastic. I was shocked he never went away. He never went to the World Cup with Brazil. But to push Haaland that's a tough ask because he's just going to be banging in goals left, right, and centre. Ask him that question after a few games.
Yeah, it's tough because you're basically asking, is João Pedro going to score 20?
Is he as good as Haaland type thing? No, he's not at the moment. No.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Last Chelsea question then in this section. We spoke about Enzo Fernandez and maybe he'll be off or whether he stays. What do you think's best for the club? Do you think when that kind of situation arises that it might be better if the player leaves?
I think if it's going to carry on through the season, then probably. But then that's how can that's how does the manager and the player together and the club together reknit that relationship between fans and player. Because to play all season and getting booed like that isn't something that you want to do. And he's been vocal about wanting to about leaving. So it wouldn't surprise me if he goes, but there's definitely kind of a rebuild that they'd have to kind of, the manager having a chat with him, sitting down, maybe say this or do this and get everyone. And if he starts playing well and banging in goals, will the fans really care? They'll probably be happy.
Yeah, it doesn't take too much to get fans back inside, does it?
No, no, no. It's difficult. Mate, it must be so going out and your own team booing you. That's different. Mentally, that's difficult. I know. Maybe for him, it's not too much. He's Argentinian. He's fiery. He's strong. He might not care. But that wouldn't. Everyone's built differently. But that isn't easy to deal with.
Yeah, I mean it's a similar situation, right, with Cristiano Ronaldo when he got Rooney sent off.
Yeah.
That was World Cup or Euros, and as you said, a few goals, a few assists, and those boos
You're
start
all right. Yeah.
down pretty quickly.
Yeah. Kiss the badge. You all right?
Yeah, exactly. Right, final section then is I basically want you to give me one wildcard transfer, a player that we might not have mentioned yet for either City and Chelsea. We'll start with Chelsea. If you could sign one player, who would you sign?
They need a striker that's going to get 20 plus goals. So I'd probably say Haaland or Harry Kane. But if I wasn't going to pick one of them two, I quite like Alvarez at Atletico. I think he'd be a great signing for Chelsea.
Yeah, very good. And then the same question then, any signing for Manchester City?
City. Going to go from they're going to need a midfielder. It's a real difficult one, that. Wild card, right?
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandez.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Little Man United to City move be brilliant as well, wouldn't it?
it'd be funny to see how that goes down. Cool. All right, that brings us to the end. Thank you very much for your time, Wayne, and thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back with a few more episodes ahead of the season, so check those out. Thanks again, Wayne, and we'll catch you next time.
Top man, thanks, mate.